Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and in this video I want to walk you through how I made this simple night looking scene in Blender as a beginner, from the modeling to texturing, setting up the scene, lightening, rendering and compiling the final result in DaVinci Resolve. By the way, this is not going to be a step-by-step tutorial. I did rather leave that to the professionals, but I assure you I will try my best to share with you all the techniques that I have learned from the professionals that has really helped me grow faster in terms of learning Blender and 3D in general. So without any delaying, let's get straight into the video. So as we all know, every project comes with an inspiration. So I gathered some few references. I started with the wooden barrel, which I used a legendary cube, obviously, with the help of an array modifier and a simple deform, which I set it to bend and change the origin to an empty, and then I set the angle to 360 to get the shape to look like a cylinder with no cap fill. And then to get the shape to look like a barrel, I used a lattice, which I adjusted it in the edit mode to get the desired look that I wanted. Then looking at the shape, I think it was okay for me, so I moved on to create the head or the cover, whatever it's called, this thing right here, which I used a plane and array modifier, boolean it with a cylinder and mirrored it to the opposite side, and it's get the work done. So to create the rings that goes around it, this metal right here that holds all the planks together, I used a simple cylinder with a cap fill tight set to nothing so that the top and the bottom is open. Then I used a shrink wrap and a solidify modifier for some thickness and a sub D to smoothen the surface. Duplicate it, mirrored it to the opposite side. Always remember to follow the real world scale, because looking at the wooden barrel here right now compared to the human figure, you can see the difference. And if you scale down your object, apply your scale. So moving on, I created the rivet that holds the ring metals around the barrel, which I used a simple cylinder with some edge loops and a sub D to smoothen the surface. So a trick to duplicate the rivet and have it follow along the metal rings, you can use an array modifier, which works fine, and also it's a non-destructive process. But for me, I think it's a long way. So what I did was I used the Alt D function. So in the top view with 7 on the numpad, after duplicating, you press R for rotation, then you type 20 or any number which you want, and in this case is for how far you want them to be apart from each other, and then you press Shift R to repeat it as many as you want. And then after I join them all, mirrored it to the opposite side, which works fine. After I move on to creating the lantern, which I think is simple, not like really simple, but looking at your references and modeling according to it. So what I did was I used a simple primitive with some extrusions, adding edge loops and beveling. Nothing too complex here, I think, and making good use of your reference and the tools in the edit mode, which will help you to boost your modeling. So with the top part, I duplicate it because on the reference that I had, it has a small hose that goes around it, and I wanted to use the boolean option, but I had a different idea which I learned from this guy called Ian. Forgive me if I mispronounce your name well. So when it comes to modeling, this guy is so good. I love watching his videos so much, and his videos has taught me so much. So I recommend you watch his videos if you want to know more about modeling. Anyway, back to the video. So with the duplicate one, I applied the sub D, which gives me more faces, as you can see right here, that I can extrude and then get the holes going around it. But be careful because your poly count is going to increase, and if you don't have a good PC, it's going to tax you so much. So yeah, be careful with it. Okay, let's move on to creating the tree trunk, which I used our own friendly curve, manipulated it to achieve the look I was going for. Creating or working with curve is also a tedious work, bear with me, but after struggling for hours and hours as a beginner, I think I did my best. So this is the final results. As you can see here, I really tried. Yes, I really tried. All right, at this point, looking at the whole project coming in bit by bit, I was so proud of myself as a beginner. It wasn't good though, but I was really happy that I have come up to this far. So yeah, I used the IV generator that comes with Blender, but the leaves was so bad, honestly. So I ended up changing it like 3 times, and I think it was okay for me. I also also brought in some assets from my asset library, like the grass, which I use the particle system in Blender on the ground, and other plants and rocks, which I duplicate and hand place them one after the other. And I also created this moths, which I used simple plane with 2 edge loops and a shape key to animate the wings flapping. And then after, I duplicate it 3 times, offset the keyframes for each, made a collection for it. Then I used the particle system, and under the physics I set the type to void, and in the movement tab you need to adjust the sliders a little bit to achieve what you want. And to make it follow an object, as in this case, in the bold brain tab, delete everything under there and create a new one and select follow leader. But I promise you, you need to change the sliders to get what you want. Honestly, I suffered a lot. So yeah, but I think for the moths to follow the leader, it has to do with your object scaling. I don't really know that, but I will link to a video in the description which explain more in depth. Alright, moving on. For the texturing, I downloaded all my textures from polyheaven.com, which I imported them with the help of the node wrangler, and then I adjusted the hue and the roughness to match my scene. And also I used smart UV project for UV unwrapping of all my objects. And for the lighting aspects, which I think is the most important thing when it comes to bringing scenes like this to life, I use 6 lights, 3-point lights, 2 for the lantern, which gives this beautiful orangey yellowish color around the focal points in my opinion, and then this one which is set to kind of blue for the moon, and then I have 3 which is way back to emphasize the whole scene. As you can see right here, if I turn it off you can't really see the rock. And then I added a cube for the fog. At this point I think the scene was okay for me, but I went back to readjust every slider and then make sure that everything is like how I wanted it to be, and I rendered out the animation and compiled everything in DaVinci Resolve, and I did a little bit of color grading. And after adjusting and adjusting for a while, I mean for hours, these are some of the test renders that I have. And this is the final animation. And if you are able to made it to this far, let me know what you think in the comment section, and any advice will be much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again in future videos. Have a nice day, and God Yahweh bless you for increasing my watch hours.